Hello, dear student. I am Zhussubalina and I'm a teacher at the Department of Modern Languages and Translation Studies. So let me present you a lecture on the discipline Key Concepts in Translation Studies, which is called Translating Political Discourse. So, political discourse is ideological charged, highly persuasive, and often metaphorical or euphemistic and context dependent, and it also culture bound. So characteristics of political discourse are, it's usually parliamentary debate, presidential addresses, campaign speeches, political manifestos, and governmental statements. So translating political terms and titles, it usually aims to, for example, Secretary of State in English, it sounds государственный секретарь in Russian, and in Kazakh it's translated as мемлекеттік хатшы. So another phrase, the State of the Union address, in Russian should be translated as послание о положении в стране, and in Kazakh елдегі жағдай туралы жолдау. Translator must understand the institutional equivalence, so create functional translation. So translation of ideological eluded language, so it involves, for example, axis of evil. This phrase in Russian it sounds as ось зла, and in Kazakh зломдық осі. So, and another example is freedom fighters versus terrorists. In Russian it sounds борцы за свободу против террористов, and in Kazakh бостандық күрескерлер мен лаңкестер. So depending on context and bias, the translator must reflect the intended ideological stance or retain neutral. So let's talk about euphemisms and political correctness. So the phrase collateral damage in Russian is translated as сопутствующий ущерб, and in Kazakh қосалқы залал. Another phrase, undocumented migrants, in Russian sounds as нелегальные иммигранты, or more politically correct will be мигранты без документов, and in Kazakh құжатсыз мигранттар. Translator must be aware of social political implications of word choice. So metaphors in political discourse. So metaphors are frequently used in political language to shape public perception. So for example, war on terror. So in Russian sounds as война с терроризмом, and in Kazakh терроризмге қарсы соғыс. In English, Iron Curtain is translated into Russian as железный занавес, and in Kazakh темір шымылдық. These kind of phrases and expressions should be learned by heart by translator. So these metaphors may require cultural explanations or direct translations based on audience familiarity. So let's go to the political slogans and catchphrases. So Barack Obama, the ex-president of United States, had a slogan during his election campaign which sounded as yes we can, and in Russian it was translated as да мы сможем, and in Kazakh yeah біз оған қол жеткіземіз. Another president of USA, Donald Trump, also used a slogan in his presidential campaign, and it sounded as make America great again, and in Russian it sounded as сделаем Америку великой снова, and other sources translated this slogan as вернем Америке былую славу, былую величие, былую славу, and in Kazakh it sounded as Американы қайтадан ұлы елге айналдырайық. Slogans must be retain persuasive power and rhythm. So political discourse in diplomatic communication. So the phrase we are concerned about the development in region in Russian should be translated as мы обеспокоены событиями в регионе, and in Kazakh аймақтағы жағдайларға алаңдаушылық білдіреміз. So diplomatic language is often indirect and needs careful rendering. So the English phrase we strongly condemn the attack. The Russian мы решительно осуждаем нападение, and in Kazakh it's translated as бұл шабуылды қатаң айыптаймыз. Cultural reference and political context. So the phrase American dream in Russian is translated as американская мечта, and in Kazakh америкалық арман. So in English phrase the Kremlin politics is translated in Russian as Кремлевская политика, and in Kazakh Kreml siyasat. Such terms carry historical and cultural connotations that must be conveyed. So, challenges in translating political humor and satire. Political satire often uses wordplay, irony, or cultural inside jokes. For example, fake news, фейковые новости или ложные новости. And in Kazakh жалған жаңалықтар. So English alternative facts should be translated into Russian as альтернативные факты. And in Kazakh баламалы фактілер. These terms may require explanation or contextual framing in translation. So when translating presidential speeches, tone and register are crucial. So Nursultan Nazarbayev's address example was taken from it, and it sounds as біздің мақсатымыз әлемдегі дамыған 30 елдің қатарына қосылу. So in Russian we translate it as наша цель войти в число 30 развитых стран мира. And in English it should be translated as our goal is to join the ranks of the world's 30 most developed countries. So another example was taken from Vladimir Putin's speech. So Россия не преклонится перед внешним давлением, it sounds, and in Kazakh the translation sounds Россия сыртқы қысымға бас имейді, and in English Russia will not bow to external pressure. So strategies for translating political discourse. So the first one is literal translation, suitable for official documents, and second is functional equivalence for titles, institutions, and culturally specific references. Explication, so is used to clarify vague and eluded terms. Another one is adaptation, rendering cultural references with equivalence. So, and the last one is footnotes for highly context-specific phrases. Ethical consideration in political translations. So the questions that translators usually ask: should the translator reflect ideological bias? Should political offensive terms be softened? And should censorship or omission be indicated? So translators must balance fidelity, transparency, and responsibility. So the role of translation in political manipulation. So political translation can be used to manipulate or reframe message. So downplaying controversial statements, strengthening political image, shaping public opinions through selective emphasis. So these are the main messages. And the statement, we are reviewing our military commitments in Russian, in neutral language sounds as мы пересматриваем наши военные обязательства. And in manipulated language it sounds as мы готовы сократить свое военное присутствие. So translating political discourse is more than a linguistic exercise. It is a form of political engagement. Translators must be culturally informed, politically aware, and ethically grounded. So they recognize the impact of their work has on public discourse, international relations, and national identity. So as political language continues to evolve with new terms, euphemism and ideologies, the translator's role become increasingly crucial. Whether translating peace treaties or campaign slogans, the translator shapes how the world understands political reality. So I hope my lecture was interesting and informative for you. Thank you for your attention.